Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all well and everything. Rigby here. We're back for another race here in SRL Tier 1. We haven't got too many on the grid today, as you can see there. There's only, I think, 9 people on the grid today. So, obviously, we haven't got our championship leader too late, mate, here either. So, don't look like the championship is going to be claimed today because of that. I don't know if anyone's close enough to take advantage of that and maybe put some pressure on him. Probably only Max, but he would only be getting to 50 points at best. So probably it's still going to be too late, mate, to title that. But nevertheless, we go. It's a great opportunity for someone who maybe doesn't normally win to pull a win out of the bag here. But very interestingly, we have rain in qualifying, so that's going to throw things up a little bit. I wonder if that means it's going to rain in the race as well. That'll be interesting to see. I will try and find that out for you as soon as I can. It looks like it's only qualifying. It's only raining in qualifying. Excuse me, sadly. So yeah, we'll see how much this throws things into contention. I'm wondering, there's no one seems to be coming out just yet. I just want to see, have we got any other, is it all tier 1 drivers today that we've got? Gimo is not normally tier 1, I don't think. I'm not sure actually, Joe. FaZe Pantera is definitely tier 2, I think. I don't know actually. Fuck it, I don't know. Screw it, we do not know. Good, look how wet that track looks, that's insane. We'll jump on board with Joe Royal during his outlap. Yeah, so France is, listen, personally, I don't like France. It's not my favourite one, it's just very hard it's so hard to correct the mistake here, I feel, and that, you know, people might be listening to that and going, what are you on about? What I mean is, like, it's, you go wide for even a tiny bit or miss something, and you either cut in the corner or you're upsetting your rhythm, and I don't know, for me, I can never get around this track properly. So in terms of driving on it for myself, I don't really enjoy it, but it still is it's still a track on the calendar. Obviously, very popular track. A lot of people do like it. So let's hope for a great race. As LT Rocker, well, I don't know what he's doing there. Did he invalidate is that lap and the next lap or something, and that meant he's had to go in? I think it looks like it. So he'll have to jump in the pit. So Joe Royal is going to be our first driver to start his first quali lap. Joe Royal, who's just kept on improving this season. He's been getting better and better. And if there's one driver who in the back of your mind you think could potentially pick up a win today, it could be Joe. His improvements have been fantastic, and you know, not having some of the stronger drivers in the race today, he could benefit from that. Of course, it's not that straightforward. You've still got like Saviari, and Max, who are fantastic drivers. Carcraft, who's the runner-up from season 1. And we know how good of a driver he is. Sten's decent, and LT Rocker, just as Joe, has been improving as well. And then Gimo and Pantera as well could do something, but I think my dark horse they would definitely be Joe. So we'll see what he does. As he does obviously a purple sector 2, because he's the first person to finish his sector 2 during a fast lap. You gotta keep it nice and tight here, not lose too much time. Joe keeping it nice and steady. It almost looks like it's snowing with how heavy the track is and how white the outside parts of the track are. Might just be my eyesight playing tricks to move that, but anyway, Joe's gonna come across the line here. Let's see what the banker time is going to be, as it looks like it's Aero Blake behind him. So Joe sets a 140.4 since just started his outlap. Who's next to cross the line? It looks like it's going to be FaZe Pantera. No, he's going to jump into the pits, so it's not going to be him. Yari next. Comes round the corner. And a quick dash to the line. Yari does a 140.6. Meanwhile, Max across the line. I think he's going to be quicker than Yari. He is. It's a 139.8. And Aero Blake does a 139.9. And Jim Winnie 141.9. Above Max and Aero, they're managing to get themselves into those 139s already. So great laps from them. Indeed, as LT Rocker is on an outlap again. Hopefully not to invalidate his lap this time, so he can actually set a time. But yeah, we're at the point of the year in terms of the game's life where there's only a couple weeks to go to a new game, and people are just kind of tired now of playing on this one, and they just want the new one to come out. And that's why we're seeing a dip in the standing. Of course, we've got obviously it's the summer, and obviously people are not seeing too many people for so long because of the pandemic as well. People want to spend time with their friends and family that they've not been able to see, and you've got to understand that, of course. So I think that's why we've got a lack of attendances today in all tiers, as Sten's coming across line. What's he going to set in the Ferrari? It's a 140.4, and he puts himself up into P4 with that time, so good stuff from him. Is it LT Rockers across the line next in terms of time? Yeah, he's actually was going to set another one, but I wonder how much fuel he's put in the car to have a couple of runs. As Max goes quicker again to just improve on his provisional pole time. LT Rocker having to correct his steering a little bit there. We get a nice overview shot as he comes around the final corner. He is going to set a time, so what is it going to be? Where's this going to put LT Rocker? To 140.9, he's up to P6 at that time. As Carcraft has got himself off the track, he's had a bit of a spin by looks of things. Well, Aero Blake has invalidated his lap, so he'll be jumping into the pits, you would imagine, as is Sten. Yari is just hopping into the pits. LT Rocker, I think, is actually going again here, so we'll keep an eye on his time. As Max has actually retired from the session. So is that Max thinking... Oh no, I think he's lost it actually. I think he's actually lost it in the third sector. You can see on the right hand side of your screens, we can't now, but you could, that his car was like on the side, so I wonder what happened there with Max. Is LT Rocker does a powerful sector 2. Wonder what happened with Max there. I'm sure we'll find out later. But we'll stay on board with LT Rocker. It'll be interesting to see if Max's 139.8 is going to be beaten at all now. LT Rocker around the final corner, staying well away from the inside curb that time. But LT Rocker, it's going to be a wee improvement. To 140.5, it's enough to put him up a place. Meanwhile, FaZe_Pantera, one of two drivers not to set a lap time so far. See what he can do. Of course, there's, you know, we might as well, you know, was going to finish outside the top 10, so, but because as we're on wet weather tyres, it doesn't really make a difference if it's going to be on fresh tyres at the start. So FaZe_Pantera seems to be really struggling to get that car out that corner then. And it's a 139.7 and he's on provisional pole, it's FaZe_Pantera. And it's not going to be beaten by Max, so he's not going to be able to get that back, so he's had to retire. Some laughed at that from FaZe_Pantera. It sounded like his engine that he was struggling, but he clearly wasn't. It's Aero Blake, I'm not sure. I think he's just getting out of the way of Carcraft. Not sure what's going on there, maybe a bit of shenanigans, but FaZe_Pantera will be delighted with that. As Carcraft comes down the final corner, he's going to be the last driver to set a time. The Carcraft is a 141.7. It only puts him up one place into up to P8. So Joe Royal coming around the final corner next. We'll get an overview shot of that. And for Joe Royal, to 140.1, he's up to P4 with that time. Winnie on a fast lap, as is Carcraft, who's going again. Carcraft, can he improve on that P8? He's definitely going to improve on his time. So 140.2, he's up to P5 now. Gmo Winnie currently at the bottom of the standings, but is going to have a big improvement to his time here. But is it enough to get him off the bottom? I'm not sure it is. If he comes across the line to 141.2, he's still 6/10 off Yari, who's just above it, ahead of him. So we're going to stay on board with Sten for now, currently in P6. Ooh, Sten just getting losing the back end just a little bit there. And it's a 139.3 and Sten is on provisional pole now. He's beaten by 4/10 of a second. What a lap. As Carcraft's involved into this time. That's not going to be an easy time to beat as Yari. Oh, just pushing it a little bit too much. Had to correct his steering and he's ended up going off. And it'll be hard for him. He's probably going to go again. He'll probably charge F1 up again, cool the tyres and go again.
LC Rocker on an outlap, Carcraft Joe in the pits, Aero Blake on an outlap, Max Young obviously had to end up retiring from qualifying maybe because of a crash, or maybe he just thought that was good enough of a time before the race. Aero Blake is the next person to start a lap with 3.5 minutes left to go. If you're going to jump in the pits to change your tyres, you need to be about half. You probably need to be just coming in about 30 seconds or so at least, at the latest, sorry. But you can see that the rain it just has not stopped throughout the whole of qualification. There's no chance to get onto dry tyres. But Aero Blake currently in P4 at the moment. He is about between 5 and 6 tenths off his teammates' time, which is the fastest at the moment. So let's put a mega lap in if he's going to steal pole position off him. We're just ahead of Aero Blake. You can see Joe Royal on an outlap about to start his final fast lap potentially. We'll jump in on board with Yari as soon as Aero Blake comes across the line, as he's going to be the next person to do so. As Carcraft's now retired, he's not going to return a lap. Aero Blake's a 139.9. He stays P4. Does improve a little bit, and Yari's invalidated his lap again. LC Rocker, I think, is going to go again as well. Pantera's on an outlap. Senna's invalidated his lap, unfortunately, but let's hope he's going to put enough fuel in the car to go again. Joe Royal struggling to improve on his time here. And Yari really has been struggling with his in the rain, hasn't he? Been really struggling. I think he might have a dry setup on. I think most people will, but clearly Yari's setup is just not helping him, and he's really struggling to keep the car on the track at the moment, and it's showing in qualifying. But with only 9 people on the grid, it's probably not going to affect him too much qualifying that low. Obviously not going to go in for it again. Joe Royal is going to come across the line, giving it everything, currently in P5 at the moment. Is he going to be able to improve on that 140.1? He will, if he's putting enough fuel in the car, he will be able to go again straight after this. He is going to have to go again, actually. So we'll see what he does. We'll keep an eye on him. Who's next across the line? It's going to be Yari, I think. Who's not going to be able to go again. So this is going to be his final qualifying time. LC Rocker just behind him. Yeah, he's riding the curb there, just trying anything to gain a little bit of time. Assuming when he is going to finish P9 in qualifying. Yari across the line. It's a 140.5, so he does improve. Meanwhile, LC Rocker has done a 140.086. That's good enough for P5. So good stuff from him. Aero Blake on a lap. Face Pantera definitely not on a lap. So we will stay on board with Aero Blake, who, yep, is the only person left doing a lap. So let's see, can he? I don't think he's improving quite enough for pole position.
He's in a good position with P4. Can he just improve by that? Find that 10th in the lap to beat Max and get on to P3. We shall wait and see. But hats off to all the drivers during quali there. It's a tough one to do it in the rain. I mean, really hard to keep, especially when you then have to have a dry setup during the qualifying because it's going to be dry in the race. So hats off to you all with that. But SRL Blake is going to round the final corner. He's going to conclude qualifying for us. Can he improve on his time? It's a 1:39.7 and he can, and he's up to P3. And that's a good job from SRL Blake. Well, on pole position, it is his teammate Stenden Sege. Sure, I was just going to say Sten. Don't know why I tried to say a full name. It was never going to go well. But yeah, on the front row, we'll have Sten and FaZe Pantera. On the second row, we'll have SRL Blake and Max. Third row is LT Rocket and Joe Royal. Carcraft and Yari on the fourth row. And Jima Winnie is starting P9. But here we are, welcome to the race, everyone. Where the clouds have cleared, the rain has disappeared, probably come back up to Scotland. And we have a glorious bit of weather for this race. Which Sten has pole position. It'd be interesting to see the strategy call. Do you go for that one stop, or do you feel your pace is good enough for the two stop? Of course, if you do the two stop, you're probably going to go soft, medium, soft. One stop, you could go medium, hard. You could go soft, hard as well. It all just depends, but obviously tyre wear on this track is pretty bad. So, and you probably don't want to leave yourself too short. Of course, it's a very long pit lane as well, so that could play a factor as well. Maybe trying to make the one stop work. But let's see how this race entails. I can't speak. Here the drivers go on their formation laps. We want that open, yes. If we have a look at the tyres that people have chosen, it is all harder compounds. So Sten starts on the mediums, as does SRL Blake, Max, LC Rocker, Joe, and Jima Winnie. And the hard tyres are on FaZe Pantera, Carcraft, and Yari. So it looks like it is going to be a one stop, and that the drivers are going to switch tyre compounds during their stops. So the ones on the mediums will jump onto hard, and hard onto mediums. So yeah, interesting choice of tyres. That's a leader. Let us know in the comments if you are watching live and you're not driving, of course, who you think is going to win, who you're going to cheer on. It's an opportunity for someone to get a huge morale boosting victory today. So you know, Sten will be desperate after getting pole position to win this race. FaZe Pantera have something to say about that as well. SRL Blake as well is a good driver. To be honest with you, all 9 of these drivers are more than capable of winning this race today. It's just whether they can keep it clean, not make mistakes, and get their pit strategy spot on. That's what's gonna
that's what's going to entail who's going to win this race. So as the drivers come round the final corner to line up back on the grids, Sten will take his rightful place at the front of the grid. But yeah, who knows what will happen. Keep it nice and clean, and you never know, even someone at the back might win this. But I hope you all enjoy as we get ready to go racing here in France. We have 3, we have 4, we have 5 red lights, and away we go for this race. It would be nice if my camera would follow suit. Looks like Max has had a very good start. He's pushing, and he's got himself up to P3. Errol Blake's not had a good one at all. He's dropped a few places, and Joe Royal's spat has been spun. A little bit of contact there. I'm not sure it was whiff. I don't think he's lost. I hope he hasn't got any damage with that. But he's definitely come off the worst. It was relatively clean apart from that. Not that that's going to make Joe feel any better. But Sten holds on to the lead. Max got a fantastic start. He's got himself up to P2. FaZe Pantera has managed to hold on to P3. Errol Blake didn't have a good one. He dropped a few places. Yari got up a few places as well off the start. LC Rockers maintained P5. But yeah, that was it just looked like he went side by side with someone. He just got a tiny little tap, and it was enough to send the Williams spinning. But like I said, I don't think he got any damage, but I hope I'm correct with that. And Joe will have to catch up to the pack once again. But it's been a brilliant start from Sten. As we ride on board with Max, you could see the FaZe Pantera was getting a little bit close to Errol Blake. Blake, of course, has now managed to get past FaZe Pantera, and he's up to P3 now. Meanwhile, at the back, the sides are a little bit messed up, so you'll have to bear with us for just a moment. But it looks like Joe Royal is catching back up to the pack. I'm just going to leave this on leader for now, actually. But that was a very, very good start from the Mercedes of Max. You could see he got such a good start, and you could tell that he was not willing to wait. He knew where he wanted to be after that first sector, and he made sure he got himself up to P2, and it was great stuff. You know, I mentioned before about how that some people might think that this is a fantastic opportunity to win a race, and Max certainly showed ambition there. Meanwhile, we jump on board with the midfield battle between LC Rocker and FaZe Pantera. FaZe Pantera, who of course started P3, down to P4 now. And he's got a very quick, motivated Scottish driver in a Renault chasing him down. But just behind LC Rocker, we have an equally fast Dutch legend in SRL Yari, trying to make his way through the pack. Of course, he's on hard tyres, so he will be pitting later than the medium runners, so he'll be just wanting to keep up with this lot, and so when he does pit, he's got a good gap to stay in front of him after the pit stops. But these three pretty close to each other now, to be fair. Meanwhile, speaking of being close to each other, Joe Royal has got past the racing point of Gino Winnie, and after his spin at the start, he's now back up, making his way through the field, and he's to P7, but he's now 6 seconds behind Yari. Face Pantera just running a little bit wide there, you could see up top there, just trying to use a bit of the track to get a better exit. But Yari is all over the back of LT Rocker now, and he'll open his ERS. I'm pretty sure LT Rocker will do the same for defense. Of course, he'll be getting DRS off Pantera as well. LT Rocker trying to break the slipstream that Yari is getting. Ooh, and Yari almost spinning it on the curb there, but just gets away with it. As Gino Winnie becomes the first person to receive a corner cutting penalty, and he gets 3 seconds for that. Yari taking a much wider line than LC Rocker there, and he's using a little bit of his ERS, but LC Rocker doing the same, is trying to get past FaZe Pantera. But out in front, I do apologise, I have missed a big development, and it is that Max has got past Sten and has the lead of this race. So I do apologise for missing that. But I'm going to leave that battle for a moment, just go back to this midfield battle between 6th and 4th place. So despite the lack of drivers on the grid, we're getting some good action here. 2 different battles going on at the moment. Joe just closing the gap on Yari a little bit here. The gap was about 6.5 seconds a lap or 2 ago. He's got it down to 5.6, so he's gained a second on him in the last lap or 2. Meanwhile, LC is getting close to Pantera now. He knows that if he waits too long, that Yari will pounce on him. But it's a great little battle that we're seeing here. But Yari just seems to be dropping off ever so slightly here. I don't know if this is tactical or if he's just simply not got the pace to get to the front. But you'll talk here, I can't speak. LC Rocker does go for it. Had to go the long way. FaZe Pantera still on his inside, and he'll hold on to position for now, and that might have really helped Yari, that. As here he comes, and he might get them both here. He's definitely gonna get LC Rocker. He's gonna have to go the long way to get past FaZe Pantera. Ooh, let's be really careful. So hopefully going into the back. Almost a huge accident there, but luckily that was not the case, and Yari not getting a good exit at all there. LC Rocker goes on the outside of him. LC Rocker, I don't think he'll be getting DRS this one with FaZe Pantera, and so this will help Yari out if he fancies a move here. Oh, he did, you know, and LC Rocker just planted his car perfectly to defend. But here comes Yari. He's had enough of being behind the Renault. He doesn't want to see that yellow car in front of him anymore. And he can't see it anymore unless he looks at his rear mirrors, because he's now in front and he's up to P5. And he can now set his sights on P4. We're going to leave this battle for now and going to jump on board with Aero Blake, who's getting closer to his teammate here. Wonder how much team orders are being played here.
Sten going very slow out of that corner there. They definitely gained on him there, and he's ran very wide there as well. He seems to be struggling a little bit, Sten, now. Maybe the pressure of trying to keep up with Max is maybe getting to him a little bit. And Aeroblake is just creeping up just a little bit closer every lap now. The last thing these two though would want to do is start battling needlessly and allowing Max to get out of DRS. Meanwhile, we're going to jump back on board with Yari, who's got DRS. He's using his DRS as well, and he's going to fly past the Alfa Romeo of FaZe Pantera, and he is now up to P4 and can set off into the distance potentially after those podium positions. Of course, on the hard tyres as well, it's crucial that he got past Pantera just to get a bit of clear air. Oh, Yari, what's happened there? He's completely lost it. And he's really, oh my word, he's really struggling to keep this car on the track. He just oversteered mad. And not only did he lose the place to Pantera, but LC Rocker said thank you very much. And Yari, after all that good work, has dropped back down to P6. Unbelievable. Maybe his setup is just not quite right for him. He was struggling in qualifying, of course, on the intermediate tyres, but we thought that was just because he was using a dry setup, obviously in preparation for the race. But he's struggling once again in the race. Luckily for him, he didn't hit a wall, and so there's no damage. But meanwhile, we'll jump on board for the battle for first place between Max and Sten. Sten, who has pulled away from Aeroblake once again. Now looking to retake the lead of this race potentially. So Sten will get DRS here, and Max has got a bit of DRS to defend with, but not too much, especially so if Sten does really put the pressure on, Max might be a little bit vulnerable here. Rides the curve very nicely there, Sten. Seems to have found a second wind on those medium tyres. And here he comes now. It's a much better exit. DRS used as well. And he retakes the lead of the race. I'm sure Max's thinking will be now just to stay within the DRS of him, maybe recharge the batteries a bit, knowing it's a long race as well. Yeah, you'd rather lead the race at the end than early on, if you could choose. But Sten almost got a bit out of a sorts there. Max just riding the curve a little bit there. You can see he was almost drifting along there at one point. It is a track that's very unforgiving, very slippery. And we're seeing that with a few drivers just struggling a little bit. to keep the car on the track. And it's yellow flagged in sector 3. And I'm not sure who that was for. Yari's actually, I think it might have been Yari because he's actually dropped to P8 now. So we had another little spin. So that's a shame for him as we enter lap 10 now. And Aero Blake is just getting a bit closer to Max now, who's he is the meat in a very ferocious Ferrari sandwich at the moment, is Max Strong. Obviously these top 3 of course are all on medium tyres, so they'll probably be pitting similar times, but it'll be interesting to see who goes for the undercuts, which of course was very powerful in the actual F1 race in Round France today. I wonder if someone in here can get as much of an advantage in the pits. It's very close between these 3. Meanwhile, there's not really any other battles going on track at the moment, so I am going to stay on board with this battle for the time being. And Max Strong, he's using the RS, he's got the RS as well. Is he able to catch Sten to make a move? He's not quite. He needed that straight to be a little bit longer, but Sten having to had a little bit of a heavy break there. And that might allow Max the opportunity to do something here. No, not quite, Max. Not quite close enough to capitalise. But you wonder if maybe the likes of LT Rocker, Joe Royal, maybe one of those guys fancy pitting it a bit earlier than they were going to, and Max is the first person to jump in. Max has pulled the trigger. He's going for that undercut. Aero Blake following him in as well, so Sten is going to have to put in a huge lap here to avoid being undercut. Pantera goes through. Joe Royal does decide to piss as well. So everyone pissing apart from Yari, Carcraft, LT Rocker, Pantera and Sten. But crucially, looks like Max has actually gained a lot of time off Aero Blake there. He's widened the gap a little bit to give himself a bit of breathing space, but he'll be under pressure to put in a monstrous lap now to make that work. Where is Sten now? Surely he's going to pit now. It'd be very risky to go an extra lap on top of this, especially if your tyres are starting to drop off. So Sten does opt to pit, and there's yellow flags in sector 2, and it's G Mawini who's had a wee spin. So his race just goes from bad to worse. So Sten is in. Where is Max? He's just gonna come round the second to last corner here. Sten is just exiting the pits now. And Max, I think, is going to get past Sten here. And, oh, it's going to be tight! And he, oh, not quite there, but then is under pressure now. Of course, on those new hard tyres, he might be struggling a bit here. So for the time being, the undercut hasn't worked in terms of getting past Sten, but he still could after they come onto this straight. Sten burning a little bit of that ERS that he has left, but Max is not going to get past him, so the undercut did not work, and Sten did the right thing to do something different and stay out that extra lap. So he has the provisional lead of this race. Of course, the top three currently have not pitted yet and start on the hard tyres, so you would imagine they're going to come in a couple of laps or so. Gima Winnie has decided to pit. It'll be hard tyres for himself, by the looks of things. So we're halfway through the race now. It's been a good one. We've seen some fantastic overtakes, some really good battles as well. We had that battle between 4th and 6th between Yari, LT Rocker, and FaZe Pantera, of course, was in there as well. And of course, Sten, Max, and Aero Blake, most recently, giving us some good action. So Max, he's gaining on Sten here. He's gaining. Not enough again to make a move. So Max, he does gain. He just does not quite. He's not quite close enough when to get onto that straight to be able to really burn that ERS and get past Sten. He can be very patient about it. He's not going to burn that ERS unless he's absolutely certain that he's going to get past the Ferrari. More yellow flags in sector 3, and it's Yari who's off again for the 3rd time. And he's now down to P6, and he's just having a rotten bit of luck in this race as he now does decide to pit. Just want to see if there was any front wing damage there. No, it isn't. It was just a normal spin. More yellow flags this time in sector 2, and it's a virtual safety car that's been deployed. So it's the first VSC, and this is actually probably gonna help Yari out quite a bit, because it means that while he's been in the pits, his rivals have had to go at a slower pace. So very interesting. I wonder what brought out that VSC. I wonder if it was Jima Winnie spin again. I'm not too sure though. Of course, in a new game, you're going to be able to upgrade from a virtual safety car to a safety car if the game feels it made the wrong decision. And Carcraft's been giving himself a drive-through penalty for speeding under the BSC. That's a nightmare for him. It was currently running in P2, but now we have to jump into the pits and have no service done, so this guy's going to have to just drive through. So he's going to be effectively going to the back of the grid, and Carcroft's actually going to retire from this race now, and he becomes the first person to leave the race. That's why we have yellow flags in sector 3. Meanwhile, Max and the gap between Max and Sten is still pretty tight.
But that VSC's allowed Aero Blake to catch up a little bit by looks of things. Sten really using the whole of the track to get the best exit possible. But here comes Max. He's gaining. He's not going to gain enough. We know Max isn't going to go for a dive bomb that deep. And oh, crucially, Max has got himself a 3-second time penalty. And that is music to Sten's ears as we have more EL5 Sector 1. That's because Carcraft's car is still on the track, but it's not anymore. So, I'm sure people won't remind me checking this. How is Sten close to getting one? He's had one. So he's had one warning, I believe, Sten. So that is crucial. He's got a couple of warnings in the bag before he gets a penalty. And that's going to put him in a great position. Meanwhile, FaZe Pantera does decide to pit now. So Sten can now retake the lead of this race. Where is FaZe Pantera going to come in? There's a bit of a long pit stop that. I wonder if maybe he has to change the front wing. I'm not too sure. Might have done. But LC Rocker's going to come and overtake him, I think. Yep, just about. LC Rocker's now up to P4. It's been a good little recovery race from LC Rocker. Started at P6, he's down to P4. Of course, it's quite a long way back though from Aero Blake, so it's unlikely he's going to get a podium, but still, good recovery from him. It's what I call a recovery race, to be fair. Probably isn't. Probably a bit harsh saying it's a recovery. But good stuff from the Scottish driver in the Renault. Meanwhile, LT Rocker is having to fight to hold on to position with Pantera, and he went along the outside of LT Rocker, and he knew that there was only one thing that was going to happen if he kept fighting for that. The two cars don't go into one in that corner, and LT Rocker very sensibly gets out of that particular situation unscathed, apart from of course losing position. Meanwhile, Sten is he's just getting a little bit further away from Max here. The gap, instead of being about 5 tenths, is now 7. And you wonder if this gap is just going to just keep on increasing here, as Max really seems to be struggling on those older, harder tyres by one lap. Probably shouldn't be struggling at this point, but he's certainly not making the inroads that he was in the first stint. And in fact, he's almost out of DRS range. I mean, just about gets it. Now, I think Aero Blake had a wee moment in one of the corners, and that he's dropped way out of the DRS range off Max. Meanwhile, Yari's picked himself up a 3-second time penalty there. He looks like he's not having a good time at all. Which is a shame for him, of course. That was a much better lap from Max. That he matched Sten a little bit. I think he actually was going a little bit faster on that lap than the Ferrari did, and he has closed the gap back up again. And they both pulled away from Aero Blake now. They've got at least about a 2.4 second gap to third place. So it is the battle for the win. Of course, Max with that penalty, meaning that he'd have to get past Sten and gain a 3-second gap on him. How much does Sten have to defend with? Probably about the same as what Max has to attack with. If we have a wee look at the position changes since the start of the race, of course, Max started P4, he's in P2. Faceplant's who was P2 is now in P4, so they've effectively just swapped positions. Yari has gained 1 position, and so has Jima Winnie. Everyone else is in the positions that they started the race in. In terms of penalties, everyone's on 3 seconds apart from Jima Winnie in terms of people who have a penalty. But we're just entering a lap 20 now, just about 7 or 8 laps to go in this French Grand Prix. And Sten, crucially, has now got out of DRS range of Max. And he's going to stay out of it as well as they get onto this long DRS straight. So that's really going to hurt Max, who's going to have to burn some ERS to just try and catch back up to him. The best thing for Max is to see Sten get a penalty, but I think he still only had 1 more. I haven't seen him get another one. And no, he hasn't. He still only has the 1. Sten, of course, who won the opening race in Bahrain. Not quite been able to reach the heights of that. He did get a P2 in Brazil as well. That was well worked. And he's looking a lot more likely to get his 2nd win of the season. This time in France. Not really any battles going on track now. Max, the gap between Max and Sten just increasing every lap now, really. Aero Blake, so the same thing's really happening with him. FaZe Pantera's having a very lonely race in terms of he's 9 seconds behind 3rd place, and he has a 5-second gap to LC Rock as well. He has to be careful he doesn't get himself another penalty, because that would demote him down to maybe even P6, as LC Rocker and Joe have not got penalties yet. But Joe just trying to close that gap to his mate LC Rocker. It's about a 1.2 second gap at the moment. We gave Joe the big build up. We thought he was going to be a dark horse to maybe win this race, but he's just not quite been able to show the pace today to really challenge those top positions. And of course, that spin that he had at the start did not help either. But he's getting closer to LC Rocker there. He's almost in DRS range of him. And Joe has now broken within a second. He needs to stay in that as they get onto that long straight that's coming up in a few corners' time. And he is gonna. I think he is gonna get DRS now to allow him to close up a little bit more to the Renault. In fact, he may have just missed that because he wasn't really gaining there. So, yeah, I think he just missed it. It's a shame for him. Meanwhile, Jima Winnie has a lap down on everybody at the moment.
Very interesting. Who has the fastest lap of the race at the moment? Is it going to tell me? It probably won't actually, will it? If I actually, this might, there we go. 131.2 Yari. So he get himself an extra wee point for that. But Joe really he's definitely in that, within that 1 second gap, and crucially LC Rocker has got himself a penalty. So Joe does not technically now need to get past as long as he keeps that gap within 3 seconds, but try tell Joe that he doesn't need to pass him here. As here he comes, DRS, he's not even used any ERS and he flies past the Renault. And it's a 7 second gap to FaZe Pantera, who, well, interestingly, Max and Aero Blake have a 6 second penalties now. So I'm trying to do maths now. That would not be enough to demote them off the podium at the moment, to be fair, but they have to be quite careful not to get another one. That would make things interesting. But that was a nice little move from Joe. I don't know whether El Joker let him go or did Joe just have too much pace for him, but either way he's up to P5 and there's one of 2 drivers still to get a penalty. But that nice clean driving from both Joe and Sten. As we're on lap 24 now of this race. And interestingly, on those medium tyres, Yari has got himself into this little battle between Joe and LC Rocker. Jockey's had a little look at Joe there. Maybe also just trying to break a bit of the toe that Yari was getting. Meanwhile, out in front, Max has just managed to close the gap to about 2 seconds. I'm under sense, just turned down his engine a little bit there, knowing that he's got a huge advantage going his way. Max would have to brake by 6 seconds, of course, to win this race now. Oh, meanwhile, Joe running a little bit wide there. So lap 25 now, just 3 laps to go in this race. And all the action is happening at the back end of the grid, if you like, as Yari is going to go for it on LC Rocker. They touch a little bit there, but Yari has got that move done, and he is up to P6 now. And he'll get DRS on Joe Royal here, and on those medium tyres. Might be a bit vulnerable here, Joe. He's going to stay ahead of him on this lap at least. And I got a bit close between the Renault and the Red Bull for a moment, but it was only a little tap and they eventually did get out of each other's way after that. So, no harm done from either. Oh, meanwhile, Yari's had another moment in that 3rd sector, this time in a different corner. But that's going to allow El Joker to close back up on him. think Yari's forgotten that he's meant to be driving on a flat concrete surface and not on an ice rink. He's been flying around all day. But to be fair to him, no matter how many knockdowns he's had, oh, he's got another penalty. That's a shame. He's kept on going, he's kept on fighting, he's got himself back into battles. So fair play to him for that. Meanwhile, Jimoni has pitted to try and get the fastest lap, and of course, because there's only 8 drivers left now, he's guaranteed points. So if he was to nick that fastest lap, he would be able to claim that point off Yari, who I think still has it. Yes, he does. He does. He's a 131.2. But it will be a one-shot sort of deal for Gima Winnie. Meanwhile, these three are going to battle it out right to the end. Oh, yeah, he had to correct himself then a little bit. Again, Joe just taking a very wide line, does not mind going a little bit slow there, just a little bit slow there, but they're on the final lap, and that might have allowed Yari the opportunity to get past. Joe does not really need to defend this too heavily, of course, because of the penalty situation. And Yari will get past, and Joe's been compromised, and LC Rocker's even got past Joe. Incredible stuff. I wonder if Joe just decided to let Yari go because of the penalty situation and didn't realise he would also be surrendering the position to LC Rocker, but of course because of the penalties he probably will get both those positions back. But I'm going to jump on board with our race leader, Sten, who has drove an absolutely magnificent race. He got pole position, had to fight Max a few times, but has really showed his strength today and is a well-deserved winner of this race, as Sten in the Ferrari wins the French Grand Prix, his second win of the season. Max comes across the line to take a very nice P2. Aero Blake will take P3. FaZe Pantera takes P4. These three still battling it out. Yari's going to come across the line in P5, but it's going to be P6 for him. If it's P7, because obviously I had an extra penalty, so I'll see Rocker. So Joe P5, LC Rocker P6, Yari P7, and Gima Winnie, fair play to him for sticking it out. Trying to get that fastest lap. Is he going to manage it here? I think he's going to. We'll have to have a look and see if he got it in just a moment. But fantastic stuff from Sten. A well-deserved winner. And my driver of the day, it will be Max as well. I think those two were, in terms of in the race, a class of their own. Max, of course, got off to a flyer as well off the start and never looked back. So I'm gonna have the top two as people that I will speak to in the press room. But despite the lack of attendance, it was a very good race. Ferrari, of course, getting two positions on the podium. It's been a while since we've seen that. And I'm talking about in real life there, not in the league. So good stuff from them. Max seems to quite like being the meat in that Ferrari sandwich. But that is confirmation. Gima Winnie did get that fastest lap. 15 penalties is mad as well. But Sten wins the race. Max will take P2. Aero Blake P3. FaZe Pantera, good race from him. Dropped a few places but still got P4. Joe's got P5 after it's been the one or two drivers who didn't get penalties. LC Rocker, Yari and Gima Winnie. And of course Carcraft retired after getting that drive-through penalty. But that is it from me. it was actually a decent race in the end, to be fair. You know, considering you know the lack of drivers on the grid, so fair play. And I have to say that this is unfortunately going to be the last race that I commentate for this season. I'm away next week. I'm away for the next 2 Sundays. So don't think I'll be driving my last race this season myself. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to commentate for you this entire game. Really, it's been 3 amazing seasons of commentating this Tier 1. And it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to all the drivers for giving us some good action. And yeah, I will see you guys in the new game, I believe. Take care all, and stay safe. Ta-ra.